Okay, so I think we're live. Okay, we are live. Hi, welcome. So we're just waiting for people to tune in. And type where you're from. Hi there. Just getting set up. Make sure you are set up with your paints, primary colors, yellow, red, blue, black, and white. Hi from Barry, and I'm Liesl from Whitby. And from Pennsylvania. Nice, Ottawa. Kingsville. All right, so we're here for the Humpback Whale. And it's a lot of clouds in this painting. From Toronto, awesome. We'll get started very shortly. I'll just show you the brushes that I'll be mostly using. A large, medium, and then a more detailed brush. I have a cloth or a paper towel, water cup, and then paints, which I use is acrylic, black, white, and then the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Hi guys. So this video, I'm pretty sure you can go back, you can like rewind it, I think, and stuff like that. I think you can do that. So if you're ever needing more time, just trace back. And then this video, of course, is recorded. You can watch it later, you can watch it afterwards in case you have to go. So I think we can get started. It's a nice day today. Probably a lot of people are outside. I'm gonna start with my large brush, and I just quickly wet the canvas. I use a 16 by 20. This painting might be a little bit more complicated, not too much, but just because of the clouds and the amount of clouds. Oh, okay. Yay, I'm glad that you're excited, Lynn. So I'm just quickly wetting the canvas. And the background to start is pretty easy. It's the clouds that make it a lot more, interesting and maybe a bit more detailed. So on the very bottom, I start with like a nice light yellow, and then the top is just a sky blue. So what you do is you're going to take a little scoop of yellow, that to the side, and then you're going to take a big scoop of white. I just mix that, and you can always grab more white if it needs to get it, if you want it brighter, if you don't want it as dark. And I'm going to go about halfway. There we go. So halfway, and then I'm just going to go back and forth. I'm going to fill this up and about almost halfway for the top half. So about a quarter of the canvas should be this color. Yeah, just water first. So I'm going to fill this in with my bright yellow. So that was yellow and white. And I just fill it in, try to get all the little spots on my canvas. Sometimes a little dip of water helps to spread it. Hi. So a little dip of water and then some more paint. Okay, so let me know when you're done that. Pretty easy, right? Easy to start. So I'm just looking at comments and if you guys are giving me thumbs up. Okay, so yeah, just yellow and white. Just a little, so probably 2 parts white to 1 part yellow is what I mix with the primary yellow. So I get it nice and really light. Lynn, I'm glad you like painting with me. I feel like you've painted with me on Zoom too. Okay, so I got some thumbs up there. So what I do is I just wash off the big brush. So I washed it. I'm just going to dab it on my napkin. I don't want it too wet. Okay. And then my next color is going to be sky blue. So you can see it in the painting. It's just primary blue. So you're going to take a little dip of that, kind of like what we did with the yellow. Take a little dip of your primary blue, and then you're going to take, again, a big scoop of white. So about 2 parts white to 1 part blue, and then you get a nice sky blue. And then I'm going to start from the top because I want the yellow to dry as I'm filling the rest in. So I just start from the top and then work my way downwards. And once I get close to the yellow, that's when I'm going to show you how to kind of blend it so you don't make a lot of green. And also the clouds are going to hide that little division. So I'm going to take a little dip of water and then more of that light blue paint. Oh, it's actually acrylic. I'm not using watercolor, but you can always use watercolor if you want to instead of acrylics. It's a little bit of a different process, but we do plan on getting more watercolor events in September. Vancouver Island, or at least by it. So again, I'm just going back and forth with my strokes, and I'm going to get really close to that yellow. So I'm going to get a bit closer. Yeah, it's what, sorry, it's acrylic paint that I'm using, not watercolor. So once I'm close to my yellow like this, I'm going to then just wash off this brush again. Kind of just see, it's pretty dry. That's good. So we start from the top. Yeah, that's some Medusa painting in the background. I like to paint sometimes. Actually, I painted Medusa, and then over there I um, have a couple more paintings. I have Harley Quinn there, and I have Venom there. So I washed off my brush, and then I'm going to take a dip of white, and I'm going to go right in between the yellow and the blue. Just lightly, press over it in between. Don't keep going over it too many times, then you'll definitely make green. So see how it's perfectly, well, perfectly blended, not really, but it's almost looks like it's perfectly blended. And you're going to, again, you're going to cover a lot of this with your clouds. Yes, sky blue for the top part, and then you get close to yellow, and then we blend it with just white. Hi there. Glad some people can join. So again, I think you can trace back. I'm pretty sure you can, because I'm on a special live video where you can trace back. And just give me thumbs up when that is done. We just should have the half of our painting with yellow and blue. Okay, getting some thumbs up, that's great. Yay, Deborah. Glad you can. I know it's a nice day. I think a lot of people are outside today. So once that's done, we're just going to let it dry for a bit in the background before we start doing clouds. We want to get into the water and start doing pretty similar things that we did in the sky. So to move on for my next little step, like at the bottom, it's going to be like sky blue again. It's going to be sky blue, and then it's going to go into a more yellow kind of orange, but we want to start with base colors. Yes, you can make the painting on an art sheet. You can always substitute things. All right, I'm going to take my light yellow again. So remember that really bright yellow you started with in the sky? The yellow with a nice big scoop of white. And I like to get right in the middle on the bottom, a nice kind of almost like a tornado look where you go back and forth. It starts off wide and it gets a little bit more narrow towards the bottom. See how it's super light? It's really bright against the light in this room. but it's good to start really light because you can always go darker. Just do that, and we can always adjust this. This is a base coat, so we're going to build on it. Just let that be. Oh yeah, you can use any size canvas for this painting, works. And then after that, in that same light yellow section that you mix your paint, so the yellow and the white, you're going to take a small little dip of red. See how like I took the corner of my brush. So I took the corner of my brush with red, I mixed that. You're going to get like a light kind of cheesy orange color. And I'm going to go on the sides and drag it into the middle where my sun reflection is going to be. I haven't actually made the sun yet, but I'm going to do this. It's good to use like a square brush, a large one or maybe a medium one. I'm still using my large. See, I'm just kind of using it straight on, just wiping it in, just streaking that, and then just leaving the last quarter of my canvas for the blue. That's fine, Deborah. This video is going to be up for a few weeks. Okay, so I just did that. So I filled in the side, and I'm going to do the other side. The size of this paintbrush, got a long time ago, probably like a size 12, I think. Oh, it's raining, so it's also cloudy there too. Nice. Now I'm going to take a bit more water with my light orange, yellow, and the white, and then a small dip of red. You have to only take like a freckle of it because then it'll just be red. I just want it to be a nice light orange. And don't worry if it looks choppy in the water. You see that reflection there? It's okay if it's choppy. We're going to build on it. It's not set in stone. It's not done. And there we go. And this paintbrush, I'm thinking, is probably bigger than a size 12, to be honest. Not much bigger, though. Kind of looks like we have a division of colors. We have the blue, then we have the yellow, then we have like an orange color, and then we're going to go back to a blue color. So it's the same sky blue that I was using at the top. It's just blue with a bit of a nice scoop of white. So it's sky blue, and then I'm just going to fill the bottom. Oh, hi, Paul. I will. Wonder, Paul, are you painted? If you're still here. Lalisa? Thanks. So hopefully, I'm just wondering if we're on the same page here. Just let me know. I know that sometimes you join a little bit later. Maybe you're farther behind, but let me know if you're done with the colors. It's really easy. You're just gonna do stripe of this little section of light blue, then your light yellow, and then your light orange, and then the light blue. Guylaine, good day to you too. So, if you are caught up with me, oh, Sherry, you're fast. Okay. I'm just washing off the big brush again. And like we did with that light blue transition to light yellow, I washed off the big brush again and I'm going to try to do a little bit of that transition again. It's not a big deal because it's in the water, so it's going to be very streaky, but you can just take, again, a little dip of white and then right in between, just lightly go over in between the two sections. The more you go over it, the more it turns green. So I'm just going to stop there before it starts turning more green. So I used, do you mean what color am I using to paint this? There are primary colors in black and white, but for the top, I started with a blue and white. And then for the next color down here, I did yellow and white. And then the next color is after you did that light yellow in the middle section, I did in that same light yellow section, I added a touch of red to make it an orange, a very light orange, and then the blue and white again. All right. So where are we at? Can we move on to our clouds? Because we want to start on our clouds. Those take up a lot of time to do. And I'll show you the original again. So these clouds, I mean, you can add as much color into it as you want. I'll bring it up a bit closer. You can add as much color as you want into this. You'll notice that there's lots of purples, dark purples, some oranges, and then as you get down here, lighter yellow oranges and some white, and even a smidge of black. So the black added to the purple. You can keep it as simple as you like, or you can put as much color in there like I said. I actually switched to my medium brush, that something kind of round, something like this is what I use, or you can use like a filbert, so a more rounder, well, this one's more round, but something not as, it's kind of more flat round. Okay, so I got my round brush, and to do these clouds, think of it like the bottom. I like to make them a lot smaller, and then as they go upwards, I make them bigger. You don't have to do that, but I find that it looks like there's more sky if you do a lot, because you can fit a lot more clouds if you start off small and then go bigger. So it looks like the small ones are even further in the distance and the big ones are like more closer to you. First, I'm going to start off just by a light, like pinky coral color. So I'm still mixing. I'm gonna grab my palette. Still mixing. Where is it? Right here. Right there. I'm still mixing in my yellow, white, that light yellow section. You can still mix in that same spot. And then just a bit more red because it makes it more pinky, peachy coral. See how it gets more peachy and coral looking? I just like that color, so I'm going to use that. Your yellow is not available. You don't have yellow? Is that what you're saying? Okay, so I have that peachy coral color, and I'm going to wipe a little bit of it off. I don't want too much to start. You can build on it. you want to kind of map out what you're doing. So I'm going to start down here and just see how, like, I'm just starting really small, kind of like little short lines. It's okay if it doesn't come off as a straight line. It's kind of um, textured looking. Now, as I go upwards, I'm going to get a little bit longer and also a little bit on an angle. I want to make it look like they're on an angle so it has a bit more interest in the eye. So I'm starting off small, like I said. These are just guidelines for where I'm going to build on my clouds. And even when I make these clouds again, they're not going to look exactly like the original because I'm going to place them probably a little bit differently, maybe do different sizes. I need to do the other side. So I'm just going to switch around here. Just place them anywhere. I like to put a bit of a gap because I can make room for putting some fluff on top of them. So try not to put them too close together, although that's okay if they overlap because clouds do that, which is what they're going to be doing up at the top here. They're going to start getting really big and overlapping. Another one here. Light yellow is just yellow and white. So if you have the yellow and the white, just mix that together. It should be good. You don't have to have a pre-mixed light yellow. And it's going to have, this one's going to be more of a giant one. It's going to come out a bit longer. Maybe one here. And then just a little peekaboo at the top. So it's life beyond the canvas. Yes, don't forget off-page kind of clouds. All right, maybe one little peekaboo there. So just add white to your dark yellow. All right, so since I know that we can all trace back on the video, it's not like I have to really slow down too much. I mean, unless, yeah, no, you guys can trace back and take your time. Hopefully we have a bit of an outline for the clouds, and they're just little lines right now. So for the next color, I'm going to start just making them more fluffy and a bit more textured looking. So they're not, thin little lines, and trying to make these nice and much more big, like they're very much on a cloudy day. I'm going to add some more white. So I'm going to take a scoop of white, just mix it with a small section of your peachy color that you had. So I can tone down, because the sun's going to be down here, right? So I want to get the bottom of my cloud lighter. Makes sense. So you can see the bottom, just how I'm just smushing my brush and just getting it nice and fluffy. I'm going to do that. It's overlapping the color too. So I'm not going, like, I mean, if you want to go lower than that line, you can a bit, but I just go over it to bring it down a little, and I've already got a start of my cloud. So that was just a little bit of white added to that peachy color you had, and I'm just going along the bottoms. So I'm just dabbing, smushing it along. Once I get into the darker colors, you're going to see a lot of the contrast. So just starting off really light. Same over here, just a couple of dabs here. In Germany. I love that place. I'm just gonna get the other side with some white mixed with my peachy color. And I'm being a bit more generous near the top because they're the much more bigger clouds. So I'm probably just going to go a bit more heavy-handed. So just getting bigger dabs. And then I like to thin them out just a bit on the ends. So they look like they have to disappear somewhere. So I like to just thin them out a little bit. Bit over here. I feel like I lost them over on this one. And you can always go back. You can take your white and just go over previous clouds. It's easy to do. You can build on the color. You have to be careful though. The more you blend it into your background, because it's blue, the more it might turn more blue and green. So I just try to not keep going over it so I don't make too much green or really any green. I'm trying to avoid green. And the clouds are so many colors, Anita. I started with like a peachy coral, which was yellow and white, and then a touch of red. And then after that, I just dabbed along the bottom. I added white to that color just to make it light on the bottoms of the clouds to start because the sun is down here, so the light would be hitting underneath the cloud. So yeah, I think I just answered the question. I think your name was Talitha. And then I take, with the same brush, I just wash it off. And now I'm going to start using some purple. So purple, more red purple because I already have blue in the background, so I don't need to put too much more blue on top of, the purple fur on top of the blue. I just want to take a nice big scoop of red, put that to the side, and then just a small little dip of blue. Mix it. It's going to be really dark, but I'm just going to start off a bit lighter first. So I'm going to take a scoop of white, and then you can see, how your purple looks. If you think it's too blue, just add more red. So I'm going to add a bit more red. And it's really the purple that you prefer, and how light you want to go is up to you. I'm going to make it a pretty light purple to start because you can always make it darker, which I will be. I will be making a darker purple after this. Now I'm going to start just on top, just above that little peachy color. And I'm just going to see, I'm just dabbing away here, going into that coral or that light peach tone that I've made with the white. And it's okay if it makes a bit of a brown because it makes it look more cloudy with those colors. And just dabbing it lightly into that peachy color, a little bit up here. So I'm going to go to pretty much all of them, starting with the top. And this is just a light purple. If you have a pre-mixed purple, that's okay. You can just add white to it, or maybe add more red to it. And this is where you can determine how thick you want to go with your clouds. Talitha, I don't know what you mean, the yellow color. I think you told me that already. So you just use the yellow that you have. So I'm going to make them a little bit bigger because in my original I went pretty big. So it's going to be a lot of dabbing on the canvas. It's going to take most of the time just to do these clouds. And you can, again, you can do as many as you like. Or you can just do a couple big, really big clouds. So hopefully you can see a little bit closer the build up on the clouds. So you'll notice that on the clouds as well, you can do kind of like little bumps here and there. You can build on it so that there's more of like a heap or like a little bit of a higher bump and fluffiness in certain parts. Just make it it has like certain like a fun shape to it. Just make it more purple. And how are we doing with the clouds? I mean, not how it's not like our usual painting events where we make clouds like this, very detailed. Or maybe you're skipping out of the clouds and you're just going to wait for the whale. So a little bit on the small little guys down here. You can use a smaller brush for this, but I just use the same brush. I'm okay with using the same one. And eyeball your painting. You can take a step back, look at it, see if you need to add any more clouds, if there's anything else you want to add before we go into some darker colors in a bit. For a darker color, if you're on this step 2, I just take purple. Okay, so you just mix your purple again, the red with a bit of blue, so more red than blue. remember that. And then you're going to take a small little dip of black to mix that together so it gets nice and even more dark, like nice and cloudy. You want to wipe off a lot of the paint. And I find that's really important because so that you're not putting like a big glob of dark purple all of a sudden onto your clouds. You want to just start off a little bit, I'm going to wipe off more, just a little bit subtle on the very tops, kind of like a wispy effect where you just have very little paint and you just kind of dab to get a nice bit of darkness on the top there. You can always add more. See how it gets nice and dark? And again, that's just a very little paint. If you have too much paint, it's going to be too thick. You want it to be a little bit transparent when you put it on, so it's just more feathery looking and just more subtle, so it's more textured looking. See how I'm just putting it along the tops and I'm just dabbing it, very little paint, wiped off a lot of it. I'm glad that you like the colors of the clouds. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to go, and this makes it more shapy when you do this. Brings out more of the shape on your clouds. Pretty great. Actually adds a lot more depth to it without even trying that hard. And if you ever need to go back to your light purple, that's fine. You can just dab it back in there. Just kind of like that. Just if you think you did too much of the dark one, just put a little bit more light purple. Um, it looks like a mop brush. See, it's like a round brush. Or you can try a fan brush if you have a fan one. Okay, so I'm just making more of my dark purple because I ran out of it. So I'm going to take a bit of more purple with a touch of black, wipe off all the paint, well, most of the paint. Maybe a little bit more. And this should be a very relaxing process, making clouds. I find it very relaxing because there's no rules and there's no like right way to really make clouds. You can make clouds however you like to, and any colors that you want too. And I'm excited to see the results when we're done. Clouds can be more difficult just because you think in your head you have to make it a certain way. So just putting a little bit on the small ones, not too much, because they're so small, you don't really need to make too much darkness, and they're by the sun, like the sunlight that be hitting it, and it doesn't need to be as dark down there. Yeah, it is a round brush. So those are my clouds. And I'm just wondering how we're doing, guys. Just let me know, type in the chat, and maybe you're behind and like this you're still working away on certain things. That's okay. But if you're with me on the live feed, then let me know if you're done your clouds. Let's pull it up again. And need time. Okay. Yeah, take your time. I'll bring this a little bit closer again. Also, I mean, like I said, if you want to come back to your clouds and do more details on, if you want to add different colors, like maybe you want to add more of your peachy color because you really like it with the purple. If you want to add more yellow. On that same round brush, just washed it off. I'm going to go back to that nice little peachy color since I have time to do some touch-ups. You know, it doesn't hurt to add more color, but I just try not to blend it too much because I like to show the separate, like the different colors in the clouds. And a bit more of like a on the pink side, not too much yellow, because I find that the more pink it is, the easier it looks, or the easier it is to put over top with the purple. And again, I'm just going to wipe off some of that paint. Just a couple of little dabs. I really like the peachy color. And I think in my original, I went more peachy on the bottoms than yellows, so I'm just trying to touch it up to make it more peachy. And some people are done. Alligators. How do they look like alligators? Oh, I know what you're saying, because they're bumpy. Also, don't be afraid to, if you need to rub your finger in to blend it a bit more, that works. All right. So I think we're going to move on to the water, and the water is going to be we're going to be using like a square brush, a flat, not around, because I want the lines in the water. You'll see a bit closer. The lines in the water, they're very streaky, and that's used with a flat brush, and a round brush doesn't really do that. So that for me is back to my large one, or you can use a smaller, more detailed brush, but I find that this one is good. Even a filbert, a flat round, can work as well. So I have that cleaned off, and you'll see in here that there's a lot of lines in here. First off, we just want to touch up that middle section, the bright yellow, the yellow with the white. Just make it nice and bright in the middle. Just streak it. It looks very, it's almost white. So I just put a little bit into the blue. And I didn't do it straight, so I'm trying to make it a little bit more straight instead of painting on an angle. Yeah, I just call it a flat brush, a flat square. Since we have, if you did a lot of purple like me in your clouds, that's after that, after I've touched up that middle, it's really, really bright. So you might find it a little bit glaring, but that's how light I went for the reflection in the water before we do the sun. Since I did a lot of purple in the sky for the clouds, I actually went a lot lighter in this one than the other one. The other one I went really dark, so that was like much more darker purple. And like I said, when I make the clouds again, sometimes I make them a little bit different. I'm going to take my purple and just start with that. So if you have to make more purple, that's okay. So that's red and blue. And I'm going to streak with my flat brush. Streak in some purple in the blue to start. So just do a couple lines. So you'll see how it kind of starts off. And just do some on the other side. And I actually do a dark blue as well. I think I will try a different brush. I think I'm going to try my filbert for the lines in the water. Purple, touch of water on my brush. There we go. Streak it. And then I take just plain primary blue. You don't have to wash off your brush, honestly. You don't have to, because it's just the similar color as purple, just a nice little bit of darkness. I streak that in my blue section. You can go over top of your purple in between, just make it more streaky. I'm going to get a bit more here on the bottom. There, see all the streaks? Some of them are overlapped. And just from a distance, it kind of looks more like water. So washing that off. So what I want to do is start the horizon line and do the sun, go back into the sky. Hopefully it's dry. Mine is dry, but when I do the sun, it's going to be really bright. It's going to overlap some of the clouds. It's going to just finish off the sky, make it a bit more shiny and bright down here, and then highlight a little bit more on some of the clouds. So let me know if you guys have finished that step on the very bottom. And the brush that I'll be using is again, my medium round and the detailed brush. So I'm going to use both. So you might not see too well my sun when I make it because I'm using white and it's already on top of a really bright yellow, but you'll probably be able to see it when I put my streaks through the clouds. So I'm just going to take white on my round kind of medium brush, and you want to center it. So I'm trying to center it with where my reflection was. Just going over it right about here. And it looks like it's kind of rising. So you see how I did like a bump? So yeah, I did a bump there. And then from here, you can use your small brush um, and just like, sun rays, literally making sun rays. Try not to think about the rays, like the lines too much, because you'll get hesitation lines. You want to commit to all your strokes. So see how they're shining over top of the clouds? That's what I did. So you can just take more white and then put that there. The idea is to get it nice and shiny, nice and bright. And then I'm just going to use that rest of that white to just get a couple dabs on some of the corners of the clouds as if the sun was hitting the bottoms of some of your clouds. So there, hopefully you can see a little bit closer. And that was the sun rays and my sun, just a little half circle on the very bottom where the horizon line is, or you can just bring it up higher, just do like a sun up here and do it. And then I go back, I'm going back to my filberts. So that flat, round, if you have more of a flat brush, I will be starting on my islands. I'm so glad that we can trace back on these videos so that you guys can take as much time as you need. Okay, the islands are a dark purple, very similar to what I did up here in the clouds, except I went much lighter in these clouds, you know, it was, I guess it was more of a gloomy day when I did this one, and then this one, because it's really nice outside, I'm just thinking more brightness, but I'm going to take my dark purple again, so you can mix it again. It doesn't have to be exact, so that's the red and the blue mixed together, and then a dip of just a small little dip of black. You have to be careful. You don't want it too dark, but you also don't want it. You just want to add enough black so that it looks like a nice deep purple. So it's probably like um, a dip or two, but like very on the corner of your brush kind of thing. And it also depends on how much purple you took in the first place. Hopefully you have a big scoop of it. So my island, I'm going to do my horizon line right about here. I kind of went into the sun a little bit on purpose. Just going to do a little line, and then I'm going to make it nice and bumpy. So it's nice and hill-like looking. See that? And for the other side, I'm just going to do pretty much the same kind of thing. Line, then a bit of bumps. You'll notice that I purposely made them different on each side because I don't want it so symmetrical. I really like how it goes over the sun a little bit. It's kind of cool. All right. After you've done that, now we just have to do some reflecting into the water. So I'd use the same brush, but you don't want to have a whole pile of it on your brush. You want to wipe some of it off, and then you're just going to streak how we did down here. You can actually add a couple streaks down here because, you know, there's dark purple in your clouds too. But you're just going to wipe off some of the purple, and you're going to streak in this section just below the island, or both of the islands, and try to mimic the reflection. I just go straight lines back and forth. I don't actually make the whole outline again, but you want to make the shadows more, come down more when it's higher for the mountain. So here it's going to come down a bit more. So I just do a couple more lines, reaching pretty much the blue section, and then just let it sit there. It looks like since the height is up here longer, it just comes down more and then it fades, and it's just only a couple lines where it's the thinnest point. So it just works out nicely. And what I'll do is I'll just take a bit more paint and just make it a little bit more thicker and heavy-handed with my paint so that it gets a bit darker on the sides, because that's where a lot of the more darker or deeper shadow would be, and it's away from the sun. Water, some more of my dark purple. There. So See how I darkened up the sides and I just left the other side as is because I want it to look like it's getting faded into the light orange yellow reflection. Um, Somebody asked a question about yellow. I haven't used yellow in a while except for the sun, or no, not even the sun. So maybe you're traced back and you're asking a question from earlier on. So don't forget to do the other side as well. But if you want to fix anything up over here, just make sure it's dry. Like mine is dry and I can show you how to do it. If you did too much purple, if you want to go back and lighten it up, you're just going to take your white and your yellow again. So your bright yellow. I've never really used yellow on its own without adding white. And I'm just going to lightly streak it into some of the dark purple. And it just looks a bit more faded. And if you add a touch of red, you can get that nice orangey, bright orange. And you can just go over it. We're in that light orange section in your water. Okay, so that was just going over previous colors, the yellow and some white, and then the yellow, white, and a touch of red, like your orange color that we did. Just streak it lightly over top on the edges of your purple, and it just makes it look more faded, a bit more blended. It's kind of really cool effect. So that it looks like the sun still is shining on this side, but it gets really dark away from the sun. And I'm going to do the other side. And thank you so much. I'm glad that you think that. But each time I paint, there's always something new that I learn. So I'm just going to darken up a little bit on the bottoms here of my hills and then a little bit in the water. So it looks like it's just got a bit of a highlight on the tops of the hills. So it's just darker on the bottom and a bit of a highlight on the top. All right, I'm going to switch sides and do the other side. So again, I'm just going to put that, just wipe off a bit of the paint, just do some of that little bit of like a shadow, come down lower on the edge because it's higher on the hillside on this side. So it's coming down a little bit lower. Not as low as the other side because this one doesn't go as tall. So I'm just going to stop it there. And then I'll just take more paint and then just darken up the very, very edge. There we go. And just like the other side, if you want to, you don't have to force anything. You can go back to that nice light orange color and just lightly streak it on the edges to break up some of the purple, make it look more faded. There we go. So just washed off this brush. And you'll notice that in my original, I have a bit more of that light yellow coming down to the bottom, which you can actually do. So just that light, bright yellow, yellow and some white. Just following it down from where it would be. So right around here, and follow a bit more. Try to make it pretty even and straight, otherwise it looks kind of floppy and wonky. So just drag it down a little bit more. I don't think I made it very straight because I'm painting on an angle. Take some blue and just fix it. Okay. I won't worry too much about it. All right. Getting very close to doing the whale. I actually like to just take the blue and a touch of black, blue and a touch of black. So just remember, only a touch. And I just want to make the bottoms a bit more darker because I want to make it look like, since there's a lot of clouds at the top, you know, away from the sun, it's going to get a bit darker on the bottom. So I just streak with my one of my flat brushes. So this is a flat filbert, and it's streaking along the bottom. So just a bit more darkness. And that's just blue and a touch of black, or you can just use purple, purple and a touch of black. Getting a couple streaks in here at the bottom. There. So I have a bit more darkness at the bottom. I just did a lot of streaks. Bring it up a bit closer. And we're just about to start the whale. So where are we at? And I know that some of you are probably way behind. You probably started way later. You like to take your time. Perfectly fine. A-okay. I feel like a lot of us are going back on the video, so I'm not getting a lot of feedback for starting the whale just yet. That's okay, Deb. You can watch it, you can trace back on this video. So, the last thing to work on is the whale. And you're definitely going to want to use a smaller brush, not too small because you want to fill it in, but yeah, a nice detailed, some sort of detailed brush to do the whale. Now this is probably the tricky part for most people because it's trying to create a creature here and um, it doesn't have too many, like the shape of it is very like soft, round, like some sort of fins. That's all that's really in there with like the creases in its skin. And there's not really an eye. I wouldn't suggest really making an eye because it might look creepy. The eye is kind of more hidden. But something you should know, usually the belly area is a lot lighter, and then the back is a lot darker. And the belly has like all these streaky lines in it. Um, a lot of streaky lines in it, creases. And then I'm going to show you how to do the nice splash. I like to make the splash around it just to kind of distract a lot what's going on from doing too many details. So I'm going to start with a nice navy blue because that's usually the color that you'll see a lot of these whales, kind of like a dark bluish color. So blue, primary blue with a touch of black. And touch of water. Also, the water is pretty blue too, so you have to. It's hard to make that very distinguishable. All right, so this is going to be a pretty big. So this one comes up. What I want to start with is some sort of like curve. So it looks like it's falling back. And this is the tip like of the nose. You can always make it bigger, so you can just start off a little bit smaller, thinner. So this is more of the head, and then this is more of the body. And the fin is going to come down, just kind of, and it takes a bit of white so you can see the difference. So this is what makes it look more like the whales, like these, the way that the fins are kind of placed. Yes, Amy, it's going to be left up for a while, for a few weeks. Also, I want it lighter in the belly area, like I was saying, a nice lighter. I just add a touch of white to that blue. Then I'll add streaks into it later. Genevieve, yay! And more dark blue, that navy blue on the back. Okay, so there's a dark navy blue on the back, which is blue and some black, and then on the front, I just added white to it to make it lighter. Because on the belly, it's a lot brighter. So the second part of the fin is just a little bit lower down here. Okay, so the shape is super weird. It's hard to break it down, really. It's just it's kind of like one of those, it's a little bit bumpy, but notice how the belly is nice and smooth and it's kind of curving back to go into the water. That's what makes it, that's how you're going to make it look more like the humpback whale. And to fill in the fin, I'm just gonna make it nice and dark on the bottom. So just the back fin, just kind of fill that in dark blue again, that navy blue. And then the top part of the fin, I'm going to take some white and just make it lighter on the top. So it does help if you do a little bit of an outline with some black. When you wash off your brush, you just do a little bit of like a black outline just along the bottoms where it's darkest, and then along the back here. And also just streak. So just like right under the shadow of the arm, like the fin, the arm, the fin, and just like where the eye would be, I just kind of streak some black along the side of the body. Now I said it was bumpy along the belly area, which is true. So I'm going to take on my small brush, I'm just going to take some white. And I'm just going to streak some white along the belly area, just like very lightly. Make it just very streaky. Don't blend it. It's supposed to look very like a lot of creases and stuff. Very bumpy. And in between those creases, just to add a bit of shadow in them, you just take blue and just kind of lightly add a bit of that in between some of the creases. So it looks like there's some pockets of darkness, makes it look more creased. And try not to do too much more than that because then it starts getting crazy. I'm just bringing this down because I want to make sure that this is touching the top of the water. So right here with my black, I want to make sure that there's a line to divide where it's popping out of the water. And then the shadow is going to be created just underneath, so below that. And I want it to be, the sun's right here. Technically, it would be more on the side, but I want to keep it in line with how the sun reflection is. So I want it to be a little bit more straight down. Just see, I'm just making a couple lines coming straight down. You can come down further. So I'm just going to come down a little bit further, doing some lines. And then I'm going to just add a little bit of some light, so some blue and white, just to lighten up, just around, just as a bit of a highlight. Little white streaks. Okay. Just taking black and going over too much of my highlight, tone it down. And then after this is the water splash, which is really fun. I like the water splash. So for the water, this is where you can take your, if you do have a fan brush. If you don't have a fan brush, then you can take um, this round brush, or you can take a filbert. But it's going to be a dry brush technique. You want to wipe off a lot of the water that would be in it. So I'm just dabbing a lot of this, any moisture onto the napkin. And of course, you'll be taking white. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to lightly coat it, your brush, swirl it around, and then wipe off a lot, just like wipe off of it, some of it onto your paper towel or a napkin. And to start, just going to dab, swish it all around the base of where the whale is coming out. See how I started that? It's covering the lines where it's coming out because it's going to have, it's a big creature. It's going to have a lot of noise making. There's going to be a lot of disturbance in the water. So we want to, this is just small, by the way. Technically, there would be a lot more coming out from the water, but we're going to build on it. So I'm just taking more white, dabbing away, just straight on, smush your brush, put more into where it's closest to the whale and less further away from the whale. Also, drag it up alongside of the belly a bit. So the way right here. Drag it up a bit. Make it nice and soapy, suds, very splashy. And so it's hard to make it look like there's water dripping down from the whale since there's already a lot of highlights going on, but in a way, the highlights that we did with the white kind of represent the nice light water dripping down from the belly of the whale. Although you can always just add some, so just be very careful. You can always add a little bit of like some water. Maybe some from some suds around here near the fins, because that's where a lot of it would be dripping down from. And this is something you can play around with for a while if you want to. But other than that, this should be it. So bring it closer again. And there we go. So you guys are free to pause it on anything, any little details. But hopefully that was a good little challenge. And the clouds are fun. I like to see the results, post them on our page, the feed, the event. You can just private message us if you want to. And I hope to see, we'll have you guys join me for another event on Facebook or maybe on Zoom. You can check it out on our website too, or an events tab. We do have our August schedule up. So this is our first August event. And yeah, have a great day, guys. I'm going to end this so that people can rewatch or yeah, in case they missed it. This will be up for a few weeks. Thanks for your support. And yeah, if you want to tip the artist, you want to support us, you can. Details are in the description. Bye, everyone.